right, everybody, it's the Jere Metcalf podcast where top real estate agents tell how they do it. Today we have Lisa Johnson, who started as a real estate agent and is now the managing broker of the in-town Atlanta Fine Homes Sotheby's International Realty office. Lisa, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Jere.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this business in the first place.
Well, definitely was not ever planning on going into real estate. And it's been a fabulous career for me. But I actually started out working in sales for American Van Lines.
Van lines to luxury real estate.
Yes. And so I did sales for them. I had to go in and I had to estimate how many boxes it was going to take to move a family.
Can you still do that?
Absolutely not. And I could not do it then either. So there would be variances called in all the time on my moves because I never estimated the right amount, and the drivers would stop everything because my estimate was wrong.
So in every curse, there's a blessing.
Yes. But so because of that, I ran into a lot of agents. And oftentimes they would say, you would be really good in real estate. And I'm thinking, I can't even estimate this move. What are you talking about? So to make a long story short, I took the plunge, and I've been in real estate since 1997. And so,
wow.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So how long were you a real estate agent?
Until 2003. And then in 2003, I became the associate broker for an office in Buckhead. And I was lucky enough to work under Philip White.
Who is now our CEO of all of Sotheby's International Realty.
Yes. And so I was an associate broker for him for a couple of years. And then I went into a managing broker position in 2006, I believe. So it's been since then.
Wow. So managing broker in 2006. And then when did you come to Sotheby's International Realty?
In October of 2013. So it'll be 4 years next month.
How exciting.
It's been fantastic.
So I would love to know a little bit about why you made the decision to come.
So my former firm was a great firm, great, at the time, international presence.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes after doing it for so long, this isn't a one-size-fits-all type of business.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes I would find myself really trying to figure out what the agents in my office needed, what they wanted, what was going to help them, because I had to look at each one as an individual agent, but then also do what was good for the entire group. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes I was not allowed to maybe manage or support or guide the agents in the direction that I felt they really needed to be guided. And I really was about relationships with the agents and really trying to help them grow individually. And sometimes in certain environments, you're just told that if it doesn't fit in this box, you just can't do it. So once my goals and my aspirations weren't necessarily aligning with the company, that was kind of my cue that, there were some other opportunities that had come my way, and maybe I need to investigate them.
To open up to them. And
yes, but I will forever be thankful for that firm because, the training and the direction I got was pretty phenomenal. But I was ready to take it to another level.
Wow.
Sense, so.
And here you are. And this definitely takes it to another level.
Absolutely.
Being with Sotheby's in Atlanta Fine Homes, Sotheby's International Realty.
Absolutely.
So I love the opportunity to interview you today because it gives us the chance, me the chance, and my listeners and our listeners the chance to get the perspective of someone in an incredibly powerful, successful company of incredibly powerful, successful real estate agents. Give us that perspective from up here of what you see the difference is between agents who are more successful and less successful and just as successful as one another, mm-hmm. and how they're tapping into their own talents to be successful. So that said, in such a competitive industry, what do you find, and even for yourself when you were an agent or the stories mm-hmm. you want to share about agents you see, what do you find is the difference or what gives that competitive edge to successful real estate agents versus kind of the average real estate agent?
Mm-hmm. So I think I know the successful real estate agents have the ability to really identify what the client's needs are and what their wants are. They listen, they understand, they have the knowledge, that they need to support talking to the clients and really educating them. The other thing is the agents that are successful truly have confidence. They have the confidence in themselves and the ability that they have, to guide the client through the process. They're not attached to the final outcome. They're not always attached to that final commission check. Because if that's all you're thinking about, you are not going to be successful in this business at all. The successful agents typically do have systems in place. They have, a certain way that they conduct their business, but they also rely heavily on their reputation. And they know that their reputation means so much in this business. And so they're always putting their clients first as well. Every client isn't the same.
Well, I love what you said. In this industry, there's a lot of reputation. There was a skit on Ellen DeGeneres where they had the agents who were, with the sign, which we've seen. We don't have to watch Ellen DeGeneres to see, but the agents with their pictures on the sign and all of the stuff where it's all about the agent. But when you look at the agents who are truly, the first thing you said was, it's about being able to understand their client and understand what their client needs. That comes first. And then the confidence that they need to carry behind that so that their client really, that's a comfort level and the competence that comes. Thomas Wright talks about you can't fake confidence.
You cannot fake it at all. You cannot fake it. And you know what? You got to do whatever it takes to help you be confident. And when I say that, I mean, learn as much as you can, and don't let your ego get so big that you think you know it all. Because when you think you know it all, you know nothing. You know nothing.
That's the beginning of the end.
It truly is. It truly is. So these top agents, and they work hard. I mean, they work hard. They, people talk about life balance. I wish it was true, but I just don't know that there is such a thing as true life balance. And these agents work really hard. They put their clients first, and they maintain their reputation, and they have integrity, and they know what they stand for, and they know how they don't want to be as an agent as well.
You're exactly right. Well, and I think that you were talking about balance. I don't think much about that often, except just enjoy life and enjoy what's in front of me in the moment. But I thought relevant to what you're saying is, in everything, the most balance comes from being your best self and being the best representative of yourself in everything you can do. If I could be the best mom I could be, and the best wife I could be, and the best friend and the best real estate agent, the better I can be at who I am, the better I am as a real estate agent, and the more balanced it becomes in doing that.
Absolutely.
I had this little epiphany in the car today on the way here.
You did?
But I really did. I mean, that sounds funny, and I'm kind of kidding, but I'm dead serious. I literally had that thought in my mind is, the more balanced we are in what we do, it's because we're more balanced. It's inside first.
Absolutely.
I don't know which one I want to ask you first, but I'm going to ask you kind of the negative first because it's fun.
Okay.
What I want to do is get down to, it's not, everybody thinks this is such a glamorous, beautiful business, and it just exactly. So give me, whether it's your own or one you've witnessed, a major challenge you've been through or seen an agent go through, and how they overcame that.
Okay. So I don't know if it's just one specific, and let me say something about what you just said. Speaking from a broker's position, another broker said these words, and I thought, oh my goodness, that so describes it for me as a broker, but I also believe it describes for many agents out there. And the words were, being a broker is glamorous on the outside, but it sure is messy on the inside. And that's the same thing for an agent. Would you not agree?
Exactly.
It sure does look glamorous, but when you dive down deep, ooh, it's messy, messy, messy.
Exactly.
So, as an agent, I thought about this because oftentimes I try and use some of my personal experiences to figure out and help an agent through something. Maybe I've gone through it myself as an agent. And one of the areas that I did fail in the beginning as an agent is that I would overpromise and underdeliver. I would go in and I would overpromise I was going to do all of these things for marketing. I was going to communicate this way, and I would overpromise, and I would get the listing, but I would never end up with a happy client in the end because I wasn't standing or following through with what I had promised. But I didn't have the confidence to go in and tell them, this is what I'm going to do. And when they would ask me to do something else, if I knew that it wasn't something that was going to work, I didn't have the confidence to tell them no. And so I failed. I failed a lot in the very beginning, and I had to do a lot of self-reflection as an agent and figure out, where am I going wrong? It was really easy for me to want to blame the seller or blame, the buyer, but I had to self-reflect and figure out what it was at the end of the day that I was doing wrong. And so I say to agents oftentimes, if you have a pattern with clients and your transactions always seem to be or end up in this type of situation where someone's not happy or they're not listening to you, let's take a step back and let's look at what you're doing, and maybe we can adjust and change some things so that these transactions don't end up in that direction. And so for me, I really had to sit back and figure out where I was doing something wrong.
Well, I always say to people, what is the common denominator of all successful agents? It's being able to recognize the common denominator in every transaction is me.
Yes.
With every client and every transaction, if the common denominator is you and the problems are very similar, then maybe you need to reconsider what the problem is. Or
Absolutely.
And the freedom in that, or it's very freeing to know that I'm actually, a lot of people's agents think, like we talk about the mess.
Yes.
It's a mess, but it's a mess that when we're professionals, we have the capacity and the competence to put back in order when we have the ability. And that's what I love about this business.
Absolutely.
It's a self-reflection.
You have to self-reflect. If you can't self-reflect in this business, and you have to always be willing to change as well, because not only is the industry changing, but life is changing for people on a regular basis. And if you can't self-reflect and find ways to look within yourself and figure out how to do things better, that's another area that's going to cause you to not probably be very successful in this business. Just because you've done it that way forever and it's worked in the past doesn't mean it's going to continue to work.
Exactly. Well, it's the companies and the businesses that change with the environment that are the companies that grow and flourish. And it's the same thing with real estate agents.
Absolutely.
Love that. What is your greatest success, or what are you most proud of as a realtor? Or maybe we even might say in this industry of real estate agents.
So I guess so these are questions that I'm always a little bit, I feel like I don't ever answer adequately, and I'll tell you why. Some people have this monumental transaction or occasion or something that they can say they are so proud of, and that was a defining moment in their life. And I don't have that. What I do have is I have a lot of little successes, and I have these success that I achieve through baby steps, if that makes sense. And let me explain that to you. So every day, everybody has ups and downs. And everybody has a different definition of success. And so for me, success is at the end of the day, I have to look back, and I do this on my way home, just like you had the epiphany driving in today. On my way home, I sit back and I recap my day, and I think to myself, what agents did I help today? Was I supportive, and how was I supportive? Was I supportive in a very rushed way, or was I supportive where I'm listening and I'm really engaged in their business? And at the end of the day, if that agent walked in my office and they felt better about whatever the situation was when they walked out, I consider that one of my baby successes. If they walked in my office and they wanted to strategize about their business and they walked out of there with even 2 things of something different to do that they felt was going to help them grow their business, that's a baby success. So I have these successes that I try and look at every single day. So I don't even have just a one big success, if that makes sense. Now, I will tell you this, at the end of the day, if I have a lot more of those positive successes that I call my baby successes, and I have a lot more of those than the ones where I think, gosh, I should have spent more time with so-and-so, or I was not really engaged in thinking about their deal when they were talking to me because I had this going on. So at the end of the day, I do calculate or decide if my day was successful based on the more baby successes I have, or the areas that I didn't.
I love that you said, because it's the compound effect of Dave, I don't know if you've heard this quote from David, but he talks about, I asked him, I said, what is the difference between the successful? We keep talking about the successful.
Absolutely.
But the exponentially successful agents and everybody else. And he said it's very small. It's the small, incremental, continuous decisions that they make. It's your success. The outcome of your actions is not in these big ginormous decisions about who's my photographer or who's even my broker, but it's in what are the small incremental decisions I'm making consistently every day. I can go run 20 miles today, but the impact of that versus the impact of running a mile a day, even every other day for 40 days is drastically different.
Yes, absolutely. So I don't have a big monumental success story that, just left this lasting impression. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but I definitely have things throughout the day that, and that's what motivates me. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily the big achievements. It really is.
Well, that's a good thing too. Because if you're waiting around for the big stuff, people can get bored. That's how people give up so easily, I think.
I think you're right. And so I just really try and take every opportunity and situation and make sure that I turn it into a success. And if I don't, then it's go back to the self-reflection, Jere. It's a way for me to figure out, okay, how could I have done that better? And that holds true for agents, for brokers, for pretty much really anything in life too.
In life.
So, and
that's what I love about this business is in life, you can kind of like not really self-reflect. You can float.
Yes.
You get in real estate, if you don't self-reflect and get clear and get grounded, you're just not going to make it.
Right.
And there's that, and then there's the Bill Rawlings talks about passion. I cannot instill passion. You're either passionate or not. If you're not passionate, there's nothing I can do with you.
And you either have drive or you don't have drive. And if it's not there, it's not there. It really isn't.
I was going to say, if you ever found a way to find it and put it in people, it's
never. Never. I can't create motivation in somebody either. Either they're motivated or they're not. Yeah. And most people come into this business and we all know they think it's easy. It takes drive, it takes passion, it takes motivation, it takes tenacity. I mean, it takes consistency.
Self-reflection.
I mean,
empathy.
Oh my goodness. It's a whole hodgepodge of characteristics, traits, and things that you have to have in order to make it in this business. There's not just one thing that anybody could say that it's going to make you successful. There's just not one thing. There's a lot of things.
Exactly. So does the company, I love asking you this question, does the company or the broker that you work with matter?
Yes. So let me tell you what I asked.
Obviously.
Yes. I like this one.
But so I want to hear your answer.
So I talked to a lot of agents, and it's definitely true that when people work with somebody, when they hire Jere, they're hiring you. But as an agent, when you go to show a property, do you automatically have an opinion about the other agent if you don't know them or based on the company that they're with?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what I tell a lot of agents is your reputation is key in this business, but the reputation of the company that you align yourself with is also key. It's a balance, because when you walk in the door, if you're with a company that they know, that they don't have to ask, now who is this company that you're with? Half of your job is done. If it's a reputable company,
it takes a lot off the plate.
It sure does. And then all you're doing is you're talking to them about what you're going to do to sell their property. But I will tell you, you're only as good as your reputation, and that's the same for a company. And so I worry about agents sometimes where they think that having a reputable brand behind them doesn't make a difference. It truly does make a difference. I know that oftentimes when an agent comes into my office and if there's a problem, the first thing I ask is, who's the agent and what company are they with? Because oftentimes companies have a reputation in the marketplace, good, bad, whatever that reputation is. But I know that when I'm dealing with agents with certain firms, I know that if there's going to be any issues, I have a really good feeling as to how the outcome's going to be based on
And
the
how to handle
reputation of that firm
And how to handle it.
and how to handle
And
it.
the culture. I think every
Yes.
company carries with them a culture. And if you know
Yes.
the culture, even when I'm working with agents, if I understand the culture that they work within, I can understand what their values are
Yes.
and how to negotiate a transaction based on the values and the culture they're coming out of.
Correct.
So
Correct.
it's
And
so true.
It does. It makes a big difference. If an agent needs to be able to be proud of who they are affiliated with, and I say to an agent, if you're not proud to say you're, I'm Lisa Johnson with so and so, then that's a problem. That is a problem. You need to be able to be proud of that. So
I can relate.
Yes.
Leave it at that.
Yes.
I can remember that happened to me.
Yes.
And I didn't realize it, and it kind of caught that happening, and I thought, might be time to reconsider.
Absolutely.
And I've been here for, I don't even know, 7 or 8 or
Right.
a while, a long time, half of my career. What is your biggest aha? Gosh, I want to ask you in both. What is it in your business of being successful? What's your biggest aha? And what's a big aha you've witnessed another agent go through and being successful? I'd love to hear both if you've got answers to both
Okay. So
that you think were worth sharing.
my biggest aha, or one of them when I was an agent, I'll say that, and then I'll share with you an aha for an agent that that I saw or witnessed. But my biggest aha as an agent was when I realized how emotional this business is, not for me, but for the client. And I quickly realized that I needed to have a very tough skin to stay in this business. Not because people are mean or anything like that, but it's when I was dealing with somebody's life, and this is one of the biggest changes they're probably going to make, selling or buying a home. I had a real struggle with being the one that they would take their emotions out on, or take their frustration or being upset or concerned out on. I took it personally all the time. And so it took me a while to figure out that I really had to toughen up, and that's where I had to learn the individual, learn their needs and their wants in order for me to sit back and kind of take the beating. And that sounds a little bit rough, but take what it was that was frustrating them,
That's
and
part
I
of our
had
job,
to turn
yeah.
around and figure out how to smooth it out, calm them down. It wasn't at me. They weren't mad at me. I just happened to be there in that place. And so that was really a big aha moment. And I will tell you, the moment I did have a situation that I finally realized that I couldn't help this person any further. And I literally told them that I wasn't going to renew their listing and it was expiring. And here they were thinking that I was going to come to them and I was going to beg to keep the listing.
Interesting.
And I literally can remember the exact moment and how I felt that I was not going to renew the listing. They couldn't believe it. They had been terrible to me. And again, I was taking it personally. And I quickly realized I had to have a tough skin, that I didn't deserve to be treated that way. And that I was okay to not take that listing. It was scary, but I did not renew the listing, and they were actually upset and couldn't understand why I wouldn't renew the listing.
Wow.
So I took control at that point. My skin got a little tougher, and I took a little bit more control.
You kind of realize you're going to be okay. Sometimes where you get in the mind frame, we've got to have every listing we can get, and we just don't.
We don't.
Because where we allocate our time, if we're not careful, every client is precious. And if there's one that's taking everything away from all the other great ones, that's time to let them go.
It is.
As much as we love our client. And I don't know what the mantra is, but it's almost with every client, they're like family to me. And a lot of them tell me they love me when we hang up. And that's the relationship we have. And if that's not or there's some kind of a connection, and if it's not there and there's not that level of respect and trust and friendship, then And I'm like you, I take it personally.
Yes.
And if it's not there, then we're better off
Yes.
to not let that, pull me away or bother me and pull that positive energy we have to give our other clients away.
It's hard.
So I love that.
Hard. I tell agents now, I say when they come in and it's been a bad transaction and I know they know they've done everything. I say, here's what you need to do. Whenever this happens, sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. And, I always want to make sure that they try and look at all sides of it and realize what the poor client's going through. Because 9 times out of 10, they're reacting out of emotion and they don't mean what they say. They don't, it's just, that's where it gets a little messy sometimes, for internally where you feel like, oh my gosh, these people aren't listening to me. And it's not you necessarily. It's probably they're dealing with a lot. And I always say, if I ask them, I said, did you put your client first in this transaction? I absolutely
question
did.
to ask yourself.
Then I say to them, did you use all of the tools and knowledge that you have to try and help guide and make this transaction happen? And they say yes. And I say, do you feel good about how you treated the client and the other agent in this transaction? And if they say yes, then I say, you have done all you can.
That's excellent.
So I make them repeat that and say that, because sometimes they just
I want you to repeat that, because it's, did you put the client first?
Right. Did you use all every tools and knowledge that you had? Exactly.
Do you feel good about how you treated your client and the other agent?
Because it's equally important to not lose it with the other agent. And if they say yes to all of that, then, and I will tell you this, an agent will say to me sometimes on one of those, well, I probably could have done this or
and
that.
Look at the self-reflection.
Right. And that's what we'll talk through. We'll take that and we'll talk through it.
So you grow from every mistake and every situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that's incredible. That is such a good, it's kind of like life is so much about asking the right questions.
Yes.
If you're always asking your clients and yourself the right questions, there's so much growth that we can all get out of that.
I tell agents the task is to ask.
The task is to ask.
Telling is not selling.
I love it. Yes. The task is to ask. Telling is not selling. Oh, that's so true.
Yeah.
Wow, that's what we all wished we knew, and that's in life. It's what I love about this business is everything that we learn in real estate will make us a better person in life.
Yes.
It just will.
Yes.
I'll never forget my first transaction. How scared I was, and I was like, I thought I had a backbone. Like it was just a lesson in life.
Right?
Just that one time, just that first transaction. Since then, you just get good at it. And you also get better at life. You do.
And with the self-reflection too, you get better at it. You do. I had an agent one time that she was very shy and very, very reserved. And I knew that this was going to be a hard business for her only because she just did not like to put herself out there. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just knew that this was going to be hard. So I was teaching a class one day and I needed someone to help start the class for me because I was going to be in another meeting, and then it was a class that we had been doing in like in a sequence. And so I just needed this person to get them started, to ask a few questions, and I asked the agent that was so meek and mild and so reserved, and she did. And afterwards she came up to me and she said, did you ask me on purpose? I said, absolutely I did. And she said, let me tell you what I've realized, Lisa. What she goes, I don't think this business is right for me.
Wow.
And I said, now why do you say that? And she said, because if I can't even do the questions and ask these questions of the people that I've been sitting in this class with for 3 weeks now, how am I going to do that with people that I don't even know? So
that's huge.
It wasn't a good thing because she self-reflected and realized that it wasn't necessary for her, but then it was a good thing because she didn't continue down this path and she was beating herself up because she wasn't able to push herself to do what she needed to do.
Exactly.
So it was hard. It was a hard thing, but I also did it because I thought I want to see if she can do it. Now she did it, but she did not like it.
She didn't like it.
And that's the difference.
And it goes back to the passion that you've got to have for what you do.
If you don't like it, it's just not going
to learn to like it.
Yes.
So we talked a little bit about balancing life and family, but do you have anything you want to add to that? I think we kind of covered that.
We did. The only thing, like I said, is that I know a lot of people feel that with balance, in order to achieve balance, you have to have structure. And I'm not disagreeing.
Isn't that kind of
well, but for me, that doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
There are many people that say, in order to have balance, you start your day here, you end your day here, you block out this time for that. And I think that's great. And there are many people that maybe make it work. For me, though, balance is really more about flexibility. And if I have to work late a few nights a week, which does happen, as we all do, sometimes it's every night one week. I'm flexible in that. If I wasn't at home to tuck my daughter in, then you know what? The next morning, if I can, I'm going to go in a little bit later and I'm going to have breakfast with my daughter.
Exactly.
So it's about the flexibility. And in this business, if people think that they're going to be able to, take every weekend off or have every Saturday off, and that's just not feasible, and that's okay. So what you do is you figure out how to make it work. You figure it out. Every single week I sit down with my husband and we look at my schedule, his schedule, my daughter's schedule, and I typically know that on Tuesdays and Thursdays she has cheer practice. So if I'm going to stay late to get caught up, those are going to be the days that I'm going to try and do it. Now, does it mean that Wednesday I might have to stay late? Absolutely it does, but I'm flexible. So maybe Thursday morning I go in a little bit later so I can have breakfast with her.
But you're even setting expectations with yourself and your family, which is a huge part of why I think people don't like balance, is because they're getting thrown off by the unexpected things that they're getting thrown off in this business.
Right. And you have to be flexible. You have to be flexible.
And I love that you say that, because in this business I find the real estate agents who aren't the cream of the crop, because there's so many, the big thing is you've got to be available. You just do. You've got to be available if you expect to be successful. This whole I only work these hours doesn't happen. And then you have clients calling listing agents asking if they can get in because their agent's not available.
Yes.
That agent's not going to last. It's not a way to treat your colleague.
No.
You've got to find a way to leverage. You've got to find a way, even when you're not available, find a way that your services are available, that your clients always have. That's diverting a little from balance, but it's actually back into the point. Is that we've got to be available, and we've got to find ways to do it that flow with the rhythm of our life.
It does. It's a flexible balance. That's what it is. You have to be flexible, and I agree with you. It would be wonderful if in this wonderful business, if on Friday at 5:00 everybody could turn their phones off. But that's just not how it works.
That's just not how it works.
It's not how it works.
Exactly. So I've got a few questions in here, and I really want to ask you, unless there's one that you want, unless there's something you want to kind of go around or talk about, I'd like to know, what is the one book with all of this great advice, and we can get it from so many different books. What is the one book that you would recommend?
So you and I have discussed this book in the past, and I'm gonna change my answer, and I'll tell you why.
Good,
okay. So of course, I love Good to Great. We spoke about that in the past, but I recently listened, because of course now it's easier to listen to books than sometimes sit down and read, but I recently listened again to How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Dale Carnegie.
Yes. And so it's so common. I'm surprised if everybody that I ever have run into hasn't read it. But wow, it goes right back to all the things that the self-reflection, the delivery of your message, just everything that you do. That book right there is so easy to read. And yet,
I'm going to listen to that, because I listen to books too. I haven't listened to that in a decade, probably.
Jerry, do it.
I'm doing it
renewed
on
me
my
this
way home
week.
today.
Or last week.
Between that and You're a Badass.
Yeah, I know.
I'm listening to You're a Badass.
Go for it. Go for it.
But next,
I'm telling you, just do it. You've listened to it.
So many people have told me that book.
Yeah.
What's common sense, but it's the little things that you have to remember.
So if you have listened, you have read that, right? How to Win Friends?
I mean, I think I was, okay, so I said 10 years ago.
Yes.
I was 20.
Yes.
That was more than 10 years ago.
Yes.
I won't say how many
all
more.
The principles, everything about it, nothing's changed. It's everything in there you can use on everyday life and in business. And again, it goes back to the self-reflection. If I feel like things are a little off, or I'm not communicating the way I should, more likely it's me. I can't blame anybody else. And so I was thinking about this. I thought, you know what? I haven't read that in so long.
I can't wait to read that.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. You're gonna be driving down the road going, yes.
It's just such the calm, because I remember the first time, and I was 20, but I read it back then, and I was like, these are just such basic things, but they make so much. And then you can reflect back on any conflicts you've had, and you're like, well, of course, because I didn't have that in mind.
Right. Even personally.
And that is so. Here's what that is: the best book in negotiating.
Yes. Yes.
It's what it is.
Yes, I know.
Which is so important in our business.
Now, I did read another book recently that was called, I don't remember who the author was, but Leading with Competence and Character. And
I like the name of it.
Of course, all of us are, obviously I'm a broker and I have agents that I help support. You're leading your own business as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great book. It's called Leading with Competence and Character, or maybe it's Character and Competence.
I think it's Character and Competence.
Yes.
I feel like I've heard of it.
Yes. It's awesome. I just got
2
done
new
reading
books
that
on
too.
my list.
Yeah. And it was really good as well. Really good.
All right. So tell us, what is the one thing, if there is one thing that you want everyone listening to this to remember, what is that?
So I thought about that. And I think it's going to go back to what you and I've touched on a lot about the self-reflection, and you have to be confident enough in yourself to be willing to change, or be willing
just to self-reflect.
To self-reflect, to realize that you're going to make mistakes. And if you don't change, or if you don't find a way to prevent that from happening again, then you're gonna struggle to be successful in almost anything. So I think self-reflection is a huge part of not only this business, but life in general. And don't be afraid to try something new. Do not be afraid to try something new.
Don't be afraid to try something new.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful having you.
I appreciate it, Jerry.